Imagine this. Half of the problems in your life, those tense arguments, lingering regrets, and missed opportunities, don't stem from bad luck or the challenges life throws at you. Instead, they come from two deceptively simple habits: speaking without thinking and acting without understanding. Think about it. How many times have you said something in the heat of the moment, only to wish you could take it back? Maybe it was a sharp comment to a loved one or a careless remark in a meeting. And how often have you rushed into a decision or action, only to realize later that it made things worse? These seemingly minor moments can feel like pebbles dropped into a pond, small at first, but the ripples can disrupt the calm surface of your life in ways you never anticipated. Now, here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. Ancient Zen and Buddhist teachings offer timeless wisdom to help us master these habits and reclaim a sense of peace. These teachings reveal that our words and actions are powerful. They shape not only the world around us, but also the inner landscape of our minds. In today's video, we'll take a journey into these profound lessons. You'll hear stories about the impact of thoughtless speech and impulsive actions, stories that may remind you of moments in your own life. But we won't stop there. You'll also learn practical steps inspired by Zen wisdom, tools that you can use every day to pause, reflect, and respond with clarity and purpose. Stay with us until the end, because the lessons we're about to share could transform how you approach your relationships, your decisions, and even yourself. By mastering the art of mindful speech and deliberate action, you can reduce the chaos in your life and rediscover a sense of balance. Let's dive in together and explore the path to a more peaceful, intentional way of living. Zen wisdom gently nudges us to pause and look inward, to examine the subtle ways we contribute to our own suffering. It's not a harsh reprimand, but a compassionate invitation, a reminder that while external circumstances can be challenging, much of the turmoil we experience originates within. This truth may be difficult to confront at first, but it is also liberating. For if we are part of the problem, we can also be part of the solution. Two habits lie at the heart of this self-created suffering: speaking without thinking and acting without understanding. They are so commonplace, so woven into the fabric of our daily lives, that we rarely notice the damage they cause until it's too late. Yet these habits are like seeds. Each careless word, each impulsive action, plants a potential for chaos or regret that may grow unchecked if we remain unaware. Think for a moment about the power of words. They can uplift or destroy, heal or wound, build bridges or burn them. A single sentence, spoken in anger or frustration, can leave a scar that takes years, sometimes a lifetime, to heal. Words, once spoken, are like arrows released from a bow. They cannot be taken back. No matter how much we may wish to retrieve them, their impact ripples outward, touching not only those we aim at, but also the relationships and environments around us. In the quiet aftermath of a harsh exchange, we often wonder, why did I say that? But by then, the damage is done, and the trust once built may be irrevocably shaken. The same is true for our actions. Impulsivity is a powerful force, urging us to act quickly without fully considering the consequences. A decision made in haste might seem justified in the moment, but it can set off a cascade of unintended outcomes. Perhaps we act out of fear, frustration, or an overwhelming desire to fix something immediately. Yet, like a stone dropped into a still pond, those actions create ripples that extend far beyond what we initially intended. The clarity we sought through quick resolution often gives way to regret as we realize the unintended harm caused by our rush to act. These habits, thoughtless words, and impulsive actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but over time, they grow deep roots in the soil of our lives. They entangle our relationships, create unnecessary tension, and fill our minds with a constant hum of unease. We begin to wonder why peace feels so elusive, unaware that it's buried beneath the very patterns we've cultivated. Each thoughtless word and action adds another layer of noise, obscuring the calm and clarity that Zen wisdom teaches us is our natural state. Yet, this realization is not meant to bring despair but hope. Zen masters remind us that the roots of suffering can be gently unearthed. and peace can be reclaimed. By bringing awareness to the habits of our speech and actions, we begin to loosen their grip. In the space of a single pause, before speaking, before acting, we create an opening for mindfulness, a chance to choose differently. This is not an impossible task, it is a practice, one moment at a time, one decision at a time. Through this practice, we can rediscover the stillness and clarity that have been waiting all along, just beneath the surface. Enlightening stories to illustrate concepts. In the journey to understanding how thoughtless speech and impulsive actions shape our lives, stories become powerful mirrors. They reflect the subtle ways we cause suffering to ourselves and others, often without realizing it until the damage is done. Let's step into two tales, one of words that cut too deep and another of actions taken too soon. These stories hold lessons not only for the characters within them, but for anyone who has ever spoken in anger or acted in haste. In a lively marketplace of a bustling town, there lived a merchant who was known far and wide for his sharp tongue. His wit was unmatched, his words quick and often cutting. Those who knew him understood that his heart was kind, but his impatience overshadowed his better intentions. He was a man driven by ambition, always seeking the next opportunity. Yet his words sometimes betrayed his noble aspirations. One day, a close friend approached him with a proposition, a business venture that promised great rewards but required careful planning and negotiation. The friend, meticulous and cautious, laid out the details, explaining each step with precision. But as the discussion stretched on, the merchant began to fidget. His mind, always racing ahead, grew frustrated with the slow pace. In a moment of irritation, he lashed out, accusing his friend of dishonesty and wasting his time. The friend, stunned by the unexpected outburst, stood silent for a moment. His face betrayed the hurt he felt, and without a word, he turned and walked away. The merchant watched him leave, his anger still simmering, unaware of the profound loss that had just unfolded. Days passed, and the merchant began to hear whispers in the marketplace. The business proposal his friend had brought was revealed to be a rare and golden opportunity, one that could have brought them both immense prosperity. The merchant's sharp words had not only cost him this chance, but also severed a friendship built over years of trust and shared experiences. Sitting alone in his shop one evening, the weight of regret settled heavily on him. He replayed the moment in his mind, wishing he could take back the words that had escaped his lips in anger. But, like an arrow loosed from a bow, those words could not be recalled. The damage was done, and the silence of his once frequented friend was a reminder of the cost of thoughtlessness. This story is a stark reminder of the power of words. They are not mere sounds, they carry weight, intent, and the potential to heal or harm. Words spoken in haste, without care, can inflict wounds deeper than we imagine. And while apologies can mend some of the harm, they cannot erase the memory of the pain caused. It is a lesson that invites us to pause, to think, and to speak with intention. From the busy streets of the town, let's journey to a quiet village nestled in the hills, where life moved at a slower, steadier pace. Here lived a farmer, known for his dedication to his fields. He was a man of great ambition, much like the merchant, but his challenge was not with his words, it was with his actions. One season, the farmer sowed his seeds with great care, eager to see his crops flourish. Each morning, he would visit the fields, watching intently for signs of growth. Days turned into weeks, and while the seedlings began to sprout, the farmer's patience wore thin. The growth seemed too slow for his liking, and he began to worry that his efforts might not yield the abundant harvest he envisioned. Driven by his impatience, the farmer decided to intervene. Believing he could help the plants grow faster, he began pulling each seedling upward, just a little, thinking it would give them a head start. By evening, he had covered the entire field. Exhausted but satisfied with his efforts, he returned home, eager to see the results of his improvement the next day. But when morning came, the farmer was met with devastation. Every seedling he had touched had withered and died. Their fragile roots, torn from the soil, could no longer sustain them. What had been a thriving field now lay in ruin, a testament to the consequences of his haste. The farmer's heart sank as he realized what he had done. His intentions had been good. He wanted his crops to grow strong and quickly, but his actions, taken without understanding, had caused more harm than good. He had disrupted the natural process, forcing a pace that the plants were not ready for, and in doing so, he had destroyed what might have thrived with patience and care. This story, though simple, holds a profound truth. Acting without understanding, even with the best of intentions, often leads to unintended consequences. Like the farmer, we may rush into action, driven by fear, frustration, or the desire for immediate results. But in our haste, we risk causing harm not only to the situations we seek to improve, but also to ourselves. Both the merchant and the farmer serve as reflections of our own tendencies. Their stories invite us to look inward, to see where we might be speaking without thinking or acting without understanding. They remind us that the consequences of these habits are not always immediate but can ripple outward, creating disruptions in our lives and in the lives of those around us. The wisdom of these tales is not in their simplicity but in their ability to resonate with the universal human experience. We have all been the merchant, letting frustration guide our words, only to regret them later. And we have all been the farmer, acting impulsively, only to face the unintended consequences of our haste. The lesson is not one of condemnation, but of awareness. By recognizing these patterns within ourselves, we open the door to change. The journey to mindfulness begins with stories like these, stories that hold up a mirror to our actions and words, allowing us to see not only the harm they can cause, but also the potential for transformation. Through the merchant's regret and the farmer's sorrow, we are reminded that it is never too late to pause, reflect, and choose a different path. In this space of awareness, peace becomes possible, and the seeds of mindfulness can take root. Zen teachings provide a compassionate path for transforming the habits that cause us unnecessary suffering. They do not condemn or demand perfection, but instead invite us to approach life with mindfulness and intention. At the heart of this wisdom is the understanding that our words and actions are not isolated moments. They are seeds, planted in the soil of our lives, growing into the relationships, opportunities, and inner peace or turmoil that define our days. To cultivate a life of harmony, we must choose the seeds we sow with care. Words are among the most powerful seeds we possess. They carry weight far beyond their sound, shaping how others perceive us and, more importantly, how we perceive ourselves. Zen invites us to pause before we speak, asking three simple yet profound questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? These three gates, as they are often called, act as filters, ensuring that our words are thoughtful and intentional. The first gate, is it true? Asks us to examine the accuracy of what we are about to say. It challenges us to avoid exaggeration, speculation, or repeating unverified information. Truth is the foundation of trust, and without it, our words lose their integrity. Yet truth alone is not enough, which is where the second gate comes into play. Is it necessary? Reminds us that not every truth needs to be spoken. There is wisdom in silence, and often, saying less is more impactful than filling the air with unnecessary commentary. This gate encourages us to weigh the value of our words, ensuring they serve a purpose rather than contributing to noise. Finally, is it kind? Asks us to consider the emotional impact of our words. Even when speaking the truth, we can choose kindness, framing our message in a way that uplifts rather than tears down. Kindness does not mean avoiding honesty, but delivering it with compassion and care. When our words cannot pass through all three gates, silence becomes the better option. Silence is not avoidance or weakness. It is a space for reflection, a chance to let understanding take root before we respond. In silence, we often find clarity, realizing that what we were about to say might not have been as necessary or helpful as we initially thought. The same principle applies to our actions. Zen teaches that impulsive behavior is like a storm. It disrupts the calm waters of our lives, leaving ripples that reach far beyond the initial act. To counter this, we are invited to pause and reflect before taking any step. Three questions can guide us here as well. What is my intention? What are the potential consequences? Does this align with my values and the greater good? The first question, what is my intention, brings us face to face with the motivation behind our actions. Are we acting out of anger, fear, or frustration? Or are we guided by compassion, clarity, and purpose? By understanding our intention, we gain insight into whether our action is likely to create harmony or conflict. What are the potential consequences? Asks us to look beyond the immediate moment. Every action sets a chain of events into motion, and this question encourages us to anticipate those ripples. Will this action bring peace or harm? Will it build or break trust? Thinking ahead allows us to act with foresight rather than regret. Does this align with my values and the greater good? Is perhaps the most profound question of all. It asks us to connect our actions to a deeper sense of purpose, ensuring that what we do reflects the person we aspire to be. When our actions are rooted in our core values, they bring a sense of alignment and fulfillment, even in challenging situations. Reflection, like silence, creates a space for wisdom to emerge. It slows us down, allowing us to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. In this space, we find the freedom to choose actions that align with our true selves, transforming potential chaos into harmony. This practice of mindful speech and action is not about perfection. We will still make mistakes. We will still have moments when we speak or act without full awareness. But with each pause, each reflection, we strengthen our ability to respond thoughtfully. Over time, these small moments of mindfulness add up, reshaping our habits and bringing a deeper sense of peace into our lives. One of the most beautiful aspects of Zen teachings is their emphasis on simplicity. The three gates for speech and the reflective questions for action are not complicated, yet their impact is profound. They remind us that transformation does not require grand gestures or drastic changes. It begins with small, intentional steps, choosing to pause, to breathe, to consider. Each moment we do so, we plant a seed of mindfulness, and with care, these seeds grow into a life of balance and clarity. Imagine a world where every word spoken passed through the gates of truth, necessity, and kindness. Conversations would become more meaningful, relationships more trusting, and conflicts less frequent. Imagine a world where every action was guided by intention, foresight, and alignment with values. Decisions would carry more purpose, and their outcomes would ripple outward in ways that benefit not just the individual but the collective. This vision is not unattainable. It begins with each of us, here and now, in the choices we make today. Zen teachings remind us that the path to peace is not a distant goal but a practice, a series of moments where we choose mindfulness over habit, intention over impulse, and reflection over reaction. It is in these moments that we reclaim our power to shape not only our own lives but the world around us. And with each choice, we move closer to the harmony and balance that Zen so beautifully illuminates. There was once a warrior known across the lands for his unmatched strength and countless victories. His name carried with it both fear and admiration. Tales of his triumphs spread far and wide, battles won, kingdoms subdued, enemies vanquished. Yet, despite his fame and the riches that accompanied it, the warrior felt an emptiness he could neither escape nor explain. Each victory seemed to leave him more hollow than the last. His restless nights were filled with a quiet yearning, a question that gnawed at his soul. What is all this for? In his search for answers, the warrior heard whispers of a monk who lived in solitude high in the mountains. This monk, it was said, possessed a wisdom so profound that even the most turbulent hearts could find peace in his presence. Intrigued and desperate, the warrior set out on a journey to find this mysterious teacher. The path was arduous, winding through dense forests and steep cliffs. The warrior, though accustomed to physical challenges, found himself struggling with the unfamiliar terrain. But the thought of peace, elusive and tantalizing, urged him onward. After days of travel, he finally arrived at a clearing where the monk sat quietly by a still pond, meditating in the soft glow of the morning sun. The monk looked up as the warrior approached, his expression calm and welcoming. The warrior, unaccustomed to such stillness, felt a surge of impatience. "Monk," he said, his voice firm, yet tinged with desperation. "I have conquered kingdoms, defeated countless foes, and amassed great wealth. Yet I am not at peace. My victories bring me no joy. My mind is a battlefield, and I cannot escape it. Teach me how to find peace." The monk regarded the warrior with kind, steady eyes, then gestured for him to sit beside the pond. For a moment, they sat in silence, the stillness of the surroundings amplifying the storm within the warrior's heart. Finally, the monk picked up a small stone and dropped it into the pond. The water rippled outward, distorting the clear reflection of the trees and sky above. "When the pond is disturbed," the monk said, "can you see your reflection?" The warrior gazed at the rippling surface and shook his head. "No, it's unclear." The monk nodded. "And when it is still?" The warrior looked again as the ripples settled, leaving the water calm and reflective. "Then I see myself clearly." The monk smiled. "Your mind is like this water. When it is disturbed by anger, impatience, or the noise of the world, it clouds your vision. You cannot see yourself, your purpose, or the truth clearly. Only when your mind is still can you perceive what truly matters." The warrior was silent, the weight of the monk's words sinking in. He had spent his life mastering the art of war. Yet here, in the presence of this humble monk, he realized he had never attempted to master himself. His battles had always been external, but the greatest conflict lay within his own mind. Over the days that followed, the monk taught the warrior the practice of mindfulness. They would sit by the pond in silence, focusing on the rhythm of their breath, the sounds of the wind, and the feeling of the earth beneath them. At first, the warrior struggled. His mind, accustomed to constant action and strategy, resisted the stillness. Thoughts of past battles and future conquests swirled like the ripples in the pond, refusing to settle. The monk, patient and understanding, offered gentle guidance. "Do not fight your thoughts," he said. "Observe them as you would the clouds in the sky. They come and go, but they are not you. Your true self lies beneath, like the stillness beneath the ripples." Slowly, the warrior began to understand. The stillness he sought could not be forced. It had to be allowed. Each day, as he practiced, the storm within him began to subside. He noticed moments of clarity, brief but profound, where the weight of his worries lifted, and the world seemed sharper, more vivid. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the warrior spoke to the monk. "I have spent my life chasing victory, believing it would bring me fulfillment. But now I see that I was chasing an illusion. The peace I sought was never out there. It was within me all along." The monk smiled, his eyes reflecting the fading light of the sunset. "You have discovered the truth that many spend their entire lives searching for. Victory over others is fleeting, but victory over oneself is eternal. When you master your mind, you master your life." The warrior remained with the monk for several months, learning the art of mindfulness and the wisdom of stillness. He discovered that peace was not the absence of challenges, but the ability to remain calm amidst them. It was not found in the spoils of war, but in the quiet moments of presence and awareness. When the time came to leave, the warrior felt a profound sense of gratitude. He bowed deeply to the monk. "You have given me a gift far greater than any victory. I will carry these lessons with me always." The monk placed a hand on the warrior's shoulder. "Remember, the path to peace is a practice. It is not a destination, but a journey you walk every day. Continue to cultivate stillness, and you will find clarity, even in the midst of chaos." The warrior descended the mountain, forever changed. His return to the world was not marked by grand declarations or dramatic gestures. Instead, it was seen in the quiet strength of his presence, the kindness in his words, and the wisdom in his actions. He became a true leader, not through force or fear, but through understanding and compassion. Those who once feared him came to respect him deeply, for he embodied a rare and powerful balance, the strength of a warrior and the peace of a monk. The warrior's story reminds us that the greatest battles are not fought with swords or armies, but within ourselves. The storms of anger, impatience, and restlessness can cloud our minds, leaving us disconnected from our true selves. Yet, through mindfulness and stillness, we can calm these inner waters, allowing clarity and peace to emerge. The path may not be easy, but it is one worth walking, for it leads us to the harmony we seek, not in the world around us, but in the still depths of our own being. The wisdom of mindfulness and stillness, as taught by Zen, isn't reserved for monks in monasteries or warriors on solitary journeys. These teachings are profoundly relevant to our fast-paced modern lives, where stress, conflict, and impulsiveness often dictate our choices. The principles of pausing, reflecting, and acting with intention offer a pathway to reclaiming clarity and balance in our daily routines. They remind us that peace isn't found in extraordinary circumstances, but in ordinary moments, approached with care and awareness. The first step is to pause before speaking. It sounds simple, almost too simple, yet its power is transformative. Imagine a moment of conflict, perhaps a heated argument with a loved one or a tense exchange at work. In the heat of the moment, words come quickly, often sharper than intended. They cut, not because we mean them to, but because we speak without thinking. Taking 3 deep breaths before responding may seem insignificant, but it creates a vital pause. This pause acts as a buffer, a space where we can assess not only what we're about to say, but why we feel compelled to say it. Are our words driven by anger, frustration, or ego, or can they be guided by understanding and care? In this small act of breathing, we reclaim control over our speech, allowing clarity and compassion to shape our response. Reflecting before acting is equally essential. In our fast-paced world, impulsiveness often masquerades as decisiveness. We're taught to value quick action, to solve problems immediately, and to keep moving forward. But actions taken without reflection often lead to regret. Think of the farmer who pulled at his seedlings, convinced he was helping them grow faster. His intentions were good, but his lack of understanding caused harm. Before acting, ask yourself why you're taking a particular step and what its consequences might be. Are you reacting out of fear or frustration? Or are you acting with purpose and awareness? This habit of reflection doesn't slow us down. It allows us to move forward with intention, avoiding unnecessary detours and conflicts. Daily meditation is the cornerstone of these practices. Even 5 minutes of sitting in stillness each day can create a profound shift. Meditation is not about emptying the mind or achieving some mystical state. It's about observing the mind as it is, without judgment. In those moments of stillness, we become aware of the ripples in our mental pond, the worries, desires, and fears that disturb our peace. With time, we learn not to fight these ripples, but to let them settle naturally. Meditation teaches us that clarity and calmness are not achieved by force, but by allowing space for stillness to emerge. This practice not only calms the mind, but also sharpens our ability to pause and reflect throughout the day. Embracing patience is another critical element. Patience is often misunderstood as passivity, but it is, in fact, an act of strength. It requires us to resist the urge to rush, to trust the process, and to wait for the right moment to act. Think of the warrior who learned to still his mind. His victories came not from force, but from the clarity that patience provided. In our own lives, patience allows us to see the bigger picture. It prevents us from making hasty decisions and nurtures the wisdom needed to navigate challenges with grace. Whether it's waiting for a difficult conversation to unfold naturally or allowing a complex project at work to take its time, patience ensures that our actions are aligned with our values and goals. Compassion ties all these practices together. Without compassion, mindfulness can become self-serving, a tool for personal peace disconnected from the well-being of others. To speak and act from a place of kindness is to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. Every word we speak, every action we take, has the potential to impact others, often in ways we cannot foresee. By grounding our choices in compassion, we build trust and harmony, not only in our relationships, but also within ourselves. Compassion doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations or decisions. It means approaching them with the intent to reduce suffering rather than add to it. It's the difference between speaking truth to hurt and speaking truth to heal. These practices, pausing before speaking, reflecting before acting, meditating daily, embracing patience, and cultivating compassion, are not separate steps to be mastered in isolation. They are interwoven, each reinforcing the other. The pause before speaking is strengthened by the clarity gained in meditation. Reflection before acting becomes more intuitive when grounded in patience. Compassion turns these practices outward, ensuring that our mindfulness benefits not only ourselves but also those around us. Imagine a typical day where these practices guide your actions. You wake up and spend a few quiet minutes meditating, setting the tone for the day. As challenges arise, a frustrating email, a tense conversation, you take a moment to pause and breathe, allowing yourself to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. When faced with a decision, big or small, you reflect on your intentions and the potential consequences, ensuring your actions align with your values. Throughout the day, you practice patience, trusting that things will unfold as they need to. And in your interactions with others, you speak and act with kindness, fostering trust and understanding. Over time, these practices become second nature. They reshape the way you approach not only conflicts and challenges, but also everyday moments. You begin to notice the space between stimulus and response, a space where wisdom resides. In this space, you find the freedom to choose how you will engage with the world. And in that choice lies the essence of peace. These teachings remind us that mindfulness is not about escaping the world or retreating into solitude. It's about engaging with life fully and intentionally, transforming ordinary moments into opportunities for growth and connection. The path to peace is not found in grand gestures or extraordinary circumstances. It is in the quiet moments of pausing, reflecting, and choosing to act with clarity and compassion. By integrating these practices into our lives, we not only cultivate our own inner peace, but also contribute to a more harmonious world. This is the gift of mindfulness, a gift that begins with small, intentional steps and grows into a profound transformation. Two disciples, each carrying the weight of their struggles, found their way to a Zen teacher renowned for his wisdom. They came seeking answers, but also relief. Relief from the patterns that had caused them pain and disruption in their lives. The first disciple was a man whose words often escaped his lips before his mind could catch them. His speech, though unintentional in its harm, had strained relationships and created rifts he could not mend. The second disciple, a woman of swift action and strong will, was burdened by the chaos her impulsiveness left behind. Both knew they needed change, though neither understood how to begin. The Zen teacher greeted them warmly, his calm presence a stark contrast to the turmoil they felt within. He asked them to sit beneath a tree in the temple garden, its ancient roots grounding them as its leaves whispered in the breeze. "You have come seeking peace," the teacher said, his voice steady. "But peace is not something I can give you. It is something you must cultivate within yourselves. Let us begin by looking at the seeds you have been planting." The first disciple spoke of his regret, the friendships strained and opportunities lost because of his thoughtless words. "I speak before I think," he admitted, "and once the words are spoken, it is too late to take them back. I don't know how to stop." The teacher listened without judgment, then turned to the second disciple, who shared her own story of impulsive actions. "I act without understanding," she said. "I rush to fix things, to solve problems, but I only make them worse. I don't pause to consider the consequences until it's too late." The teacher nodded thoughtfully. "Words and actions are like stones thrown into a pond," he said. "They create ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. If the stone is thrown carelessly, the ripples can disturb the stillness. But if the stone is placed gently, with intention, the pond remains calm. Let us work together to learn how to place the stones of your words and actions with care." Thus began the disciples' journey into mindfulness. Each day, the teacher guided them through practices designed to cultivate awareness and stillness. For the first disciple, this meant pausing before speaking. The teacher instructed him to take 3 deep breaths before responding in any conversation, no matter how casual or pressing. At first, this felt unnatural, even awkward. The disciple found himself fumbling for words. unsure how to fill the silence created by his newfound pause. But as the days turned into weeks, he noticed something remarkable. His words began to carry more weight. By taking a moment to breathe, he gained clarity, choosing his words with care rather than speaking out of habit or emotion. In one instance, a close friend confronted him about a past misunderstanding. The old version of himself would have reacted defensively, blurting out an explanation or an excuse without fully listening. But this time, he paused. He breathed. He allowed himself to hear the depth of his friend's feelings before responding. When he finally spoke, his words were thoughtful, sincere, and rooted in compassion. The conversation ended not in conflict but in understanding, and the disciple felt the quiet satisfaction of planting a seed that would grow into renewed trust. For the second disciple, the practice focused on observing her impulses before acting. The teacher asked her to keep a journal, recording moments when she felt the urge to act immediately. Write down what you feel, he said, and then wait. Give yourself time to reflect before deciding what to do. This exercise was challenging. She was accustomed to swift decisions, priding herself on her ability to take charge. But as she began to slow down, a new perspective emerged. She noticed patterns in her impulses, fear of failure, a desire to control outcomes, and a deep-seated need for approval. By pausing to understand these motivations, she found the freedom to choose her actions more wisely. One day, she faced a particularly difficult situation. A disagreement had erupted among her colleagues, and tensions were high. Her first instinct was to intervene immediately, to mediate and resolve the conflict as quickly as possible. But she remembered the teacher's guidance and took a step back. She observed the situation without acting, allowing the emotions in the room to settle. When she finally spoke, her words were measured, and her suggestions were grounded in a clear understanding of the dynamics at play. The resolution that followed was not only effective, but also left her colleagues feeling heard and respected. For the first time, she experienced the power of intentional action, and the sense of calm it brought was transformative. As the weeks turned into months, both disciples began to notice profound changes in their lives. The first disciple, once burdened by regret and strained relationships, found that his words now built bridges instead of burning them. Friends and family remarked on his newfound presence, his ability to listen deeply and respond with wisdom. The second disciple, once overwhelmed by the chaos her impulsiveness created, discovered a steadiness she had never known. Her actions, though fewer, carried greater impact, and the harmony she cultivated in her interactions brought her a sense of fulfillment she had long sought. When the time came for them to leave the temple, the teacher gathered them beneath the same tree where their journey had begun. "What have you learned?" he asked. The first disciple spoke of the power of pausing, of how a moment of stillness before speaking could transform not only his words, but also his relationships. "I have learned that silence is not empty," he said. "It is full of potential, a space where wisdom can grow." The second disciple reflected on her newfound understanding of intention. "I have learned to see my actions as seeds," she said. "By planting them with care, I create ripples of peace instead of chaos. I no longer feel the need to act on every impulse. Instead, I trust the process and wait for the right moment to act." The teacher smiled, his gaze warm and knowing. "You have both touched the essence of mindfulness," he said. "Remember, the journey does not end here. It is a practice you will carry with you every day. In every word and action, peace begins within, but it does not stay there. It radiates outward, touching everything you do and everyone you meet. In this way, your mindfulness becomes a gift, not only to yourselves, but to the world." As the disciples departed, they carried with them not only the lessons they had learned, but also the quiet confidence that change was possible. They understood now that mindfulness was not about achieving perfection, but about approaching life with care and intention. Their stories remind us that transformation begins in the smallest moments, in the pause before a word is spoken, in the breath before an action is taken. Peace is not a distant goal but a practice, one that begins within and grows outward, touching the lives of others like ripples on a still pond. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound simplicity of Zen wisdom. It reminds us that true mastery lies not in controlling the world around us, but in understanding and harmonizing with the world within. Half of life's struggles can be traced back to two habits: speaking without thinking and acting without understanding. Yet, with mindfulness, these habits can be transformed into moments of clarity, connection, and peace. The next time you feel the weight of impatience, the surge of anger, or the pull of impulsiveness, remember the still pond. Picture its calm surface, and know that the clarity you seek is always within reach. Just as the water settles when left undisturbed, so too can your mind find stillness. Take a breath, pause, and allow wisdom to emerge from the quiet. In this stillness, there is space for reflection. In this clarity, there is the power to choose differently. And in these choices, there is the path to a more peaceful life. Your journey toward mindfulness doesn't need to be perfect. It is a practice, one moment at a time. Each pause before speaking, each reflection before acting, and each quiet moment spent in stillness is a step forward. These small acts, repeated with intention, can ripple outward, touching not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What practices resonate with you? Have you experienced moments where pausing or reflecting transformed a situation? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your journey might inspire others to take their first mindful step. Let's create a space for positivity and encouragement, where we can learn and grow together. Thank you for watching and for being part of this journey. If this video has brought you insight or inspiration, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing content that nurtures mindfulness and inner peace. May your path be filled with moments of stillness, clarity, and the deep harmony that comes from living with intention. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care and stay mindful.